Now, imagination comes, I think, in kind of two main parts as far as I can tell. One of them is when we go to sleep at night. We all have REM sleep, and we all dream. How many people remember their dreams? How many? Okay? This is great, because what you're remembering is something that seems connected with a dream, and how quickly it fades away. You think that you're going to retain that, and God, after 30 minutes, it's just like it's starting to drain away. Unless you write it down, you know you're going to miss even the last sketch of that unicorn that was eating an apple off of the top hat. So, when we dream, we don't have the dorsal, lateral, prefrontal cortex to plan, to organize, discipline, control our imagination. That's why when you're asleep, you're paralyzed. All of your motor activity basically stops. But you have these wild, chaotic, random images. Some of them are scary, some of them are pleasant, some of them are curious. But when you wake up, you just have a little ember of that. That comes from the very base of your brain. But when you're awake, if you had that kind of unstructured, disordered, psychotic view of your reality, you wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't be here if our ancestors' waking imagination was the same as their dreaming imagination. So how we dream and what we dream is significantly different from what our imagination is triggered by when we're awake. And when we're awake, that imagination, we've found, I think, with social media and with the internet, is pretty much for sale. Our imagination has been colonized for almost all of us. We think we have an imagination. Think about it for a moment. Where does it come from? Your imagination is a combination of teachers, parents, neighbors, and lots of dead people. From Adam Smith to Hobbes. You take in the knowledge from the past, and that goes into your own mind and feeds your imagination of what's possible. And if you think how imagination shifts over time, if you go back to the 18th century or even before, you go back to the time of Voltaire, Schopenhauer, and Newton. None of those people had ever seen a TV. They never used a cell phone. They didn't know how to drive a car. They never opened a fridge. They never turned on an aircon in the summertime. They never took an antibiotic when they got some serious ailment. They were basically, from our point of view, looking at them, they were screwed. Their imagination was in a world basically of horse and plow and slings and muskets. And we can look at that world and say, a lot of the values that we have come from that world. It's been passed to our generation, and we're passing that to another generation. And by that passing, we're passing the way memories from the past impact memories of the moment, and how those memories should guide our creative efforts into the future. So the imagery hijacking is very important. There's a whole industry for this. Part of the industry of the hijackers is going to be the military-industrial complex, because you want the best weapons. If you want the best weapons, you need the most imaginative, creative people who are on the cutting edge of that technology. If you have that, you will have a military advantage. So there's a lot of money that goes into research and funding, and those creative people then have sold that creativity to make killing machines more efficient. In other words, you think of the 18th century, the weaponry, and you think today of killer drones that can be operated out of Arizona and kill people in Iraq. That should be anyone's imagination well-oiled.